He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife. She missed the mic. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. It was a year ago that we witnessed one of the more entertaining aspects of this one's wife's narcissism when she attended Kevin Costner's charity concert 1805 Live, and in so doing demonstrated her narcissism once again as she sought to take over the event, which included assuming that she would be able to speak to the audience. We witnessed the mic grab, which of course has set in train many instances whereby this one's wife can't wait to wrap her fingers around the phallic instrument in order to send people into a catatonic state as she issues another beige word salad. The fact that the lady with the mic resolutely held onto it and didn't provide it to this one's wife wounded her and provided those of us observing with much entertainment. Well, a year has soon passed, and Kevin Costner's charity event has loomed again. However, there has been a different outcome. As reported by the Daily Mail, Milo Pope writes, a solo Prince Harry attended Kevin Costner's charity concert event after this one's wife was reportedly sick. Presumably, they mean that she was ill. She'd got a cold or a tummy bug, rather than being sick in the head. The Duke of Sussex honoured a Santa Barbara helicopter pilot at the 1805 Live concert, which is held at Costner's Oceanside estate in California. Several A-listers, such as Jeff Bridges, Rob Lowe, and Pink, were in attendance to celebrate the heroism of first responders. Both Harry and this one's wife attended the same event last year, and many were said to be hoping this one's wife would attend again. Who's saying that? The Suggars? However, a source confirmed the word is that she is sick and could not make it. Harry is now expected to travel to New York over the weekend to attend other events, including the Diana Awards and an event held by the Halo Trust, which Diana was involved in. Harry, dressed in a navy blue suit and light blue shirt, addressed the crowd at the 1805 concert to present an award on stage to local helicopter pilot Lauren Courtney near the start of the evening after he arrived at 7 p.m. He told a joke about how they both felt more comfortable behind the controls of a helicopter than on stage. This comes after it was revealed that Prince Harry will return to the United Kingdom later this month to attend a high-profile charity event in London. Thus, Harry steps out on his own. And interestingly, you can see from the pictures that he seems far more relaxed when his handler isn't there. Unsurprising, really, as a consequence of the fact that the presence of the narcissist is such that it causes people, particularly the intimate partner primary source, to be walking on those proverbial eggshells. But what about the failure of this one's wife to attend? What do we know about that? Well, first of all, this is the kind of event that this one's wife would want to turn up at. After all, it would be an opportunity for her to assert control over many non-intimate tertiary sources through being a guest, viewed as a special guest. It would be the opportunity to draw fuel from these people by being seen and them reacting to her presence, and also, of course, the forthcoming coverage that would arise as newspapers and magazines reported on her attendance at the event. It would contribute to her residual benefits by way of her enabling her to manage that facade of demonstrating that she is a kind and decent person that's engaged in supporting a charity event. It would have the opportunity of character trait acquisition by rubbing shoulders with A-list guests. Thus, on the face of it, it's certainly an event that this one's wife would want to attend, but she didn't. Why might that be? Well, let's examine the evidence, because that's what's always important to do in terms of ascertaining the behaviours alongside understanding how it is that a narcissist behaves. Rather than going off on some flight of fancy, it's simpler to understand the way that the narcissist will invariably behave and look at what available evidence there is. We've not been provided with any medical report to confirm that this one's wife was unwell. We didn't see any pictures of her sat at home, dosed up on night nurse with a snuffly nose, etc., or her running backwards and forwards to one of the 47,000 flushing toilets as a consequence of the fact that she got an attack of the shits. However, it was stated that she was sick. Could this be the case? Well, it just might be. Remember that the narcissist will use the truth as you understand it to be for the purposes of pursuing the prime aims. Often the narcissist will utilize a half-truth or nowhere near the truth, but there are instances where the narcissist would use the truth. Accordingly, it's a possibility that she was unwell. On balance, I doubt, however, that this was the case. Why? This one's wife doesn't often appear to be ill. She seems to enjoy decent health. Furthermore, even if she were a little unwell, this type of event and the benefits that are recorded by it would compel her narcissism to force her through any potential ill health. And therefore, whilst it is a possibility, I don't see it as a probability. Accordingly, given that we've no other evidence as to why she turned up, then we rely upon the behaviour of the narcissist to understand what caused her to not attend. Let us consider, might it be that she's embarrassed about what happened last year where she didn't get the mic and therefore has decided that she won't attend? That simply isn't the case, for two reasons. First of all, she doesn't experience embarrassment. Secondly, the compartmentalization of her narcissism is such that what happened last year dissipated into the ether. It's no longer relevant. It would only deem to be relevant if the narcissism deemed that it was appropriate to rely on last year for the purposes of gaining the prime aims now. For instance, bringing up the past. But given the fact that that was a threat to her control, and that it's in the past, the narcissism isn't going to bring that up again to assist her. As I said, it's dissipated into the ether. And along with the fact that she doesn't suffer embarrassment, the mic grab, or the failed mic grab, is not something that prevented her attending this time around. An alternative might be, and this is speculation, that she wanted to speak, but was told no. That is a possibility. Why? Well, first of all, this one's wife's narcissism would compel her to issue such a demand because it enables her to get the prime aims in fuller amounts. By being a speaker, she can assert control over a captive audience. By being a speaker, she receives more fuel by way of people responding to what she's saying. It also assists with the facade management. She often wants to speak at events. We see many instances where she turns up and she wants a microphone. I detailed, for instance, numerous pictures in the She's Having an Affair with Mike piss take of so many occasions where she's turned up and spoken. She loves talking. She loves having a mic. And therefore, it's entirely conceivable that her narcissism would drive her to issue this demand. Furthermore, given the fact that Kevin Costner isn't particularly keen on her and sees no reason to send his audience to sleep, it's likely that the request would have been refused had it been made. Might that have been a reason for non-attendance? Yes, because the refusal of her demand would wound her, and therefore, in order to nullify that threat to control, she stays in a position of withdrawal and doesn't turn up. Now, we don't know whether she asked to speak. All that I'm stating is that given that she's a narcissist, and we've seen lots of evidence previously of her speaking at events, this is a distinct possibility. And in the circumstances, it might have been the case that she asked to speak, was told no, and therefore her reaction was to utilise sickness in order to nullify the threat to control posed by not getting her own way. An alternative might be that the event itself was perceived as problematic by her narcissism in the similar way that her narcissism sees the UK as a problem, and therefore, in order to nullify the threat to control that the event would pose, she stays in a position of withdrawal. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there are certain attractors about the event in terms of control, fuel, and the residual benefit of managing the facade. But if we factor in at the moment, this one's wife is coming under repeated criticism as a consequence of the contents of the Hollywood Reporter article. Now, you'll remember that the previous weekend, following the publication of that report, she went on her PR offensive by appearing at two events, the Alliance for Children event and Tyler Perry's birthday party, or at least being photographed in a car supposedly exiting it. What's the difference there? Well, in both instances, her narcissism will have perceived that those were friendly events. The Alliance for Children's Rights had people there that were pleased to have her attend, and therefore there was no threat to control. It was a supportive environment that allowed her to pursue the prime aims with ease. Similarly, being seen in a Range Rover with Backgrid, who will do as they're told in relation to these photographs, supposedly exiting the party, meant she also had control and then could utilise that to say, hey, look at me, I'm important, I've been to Tyler Perry's birthday party. Accordingly, there was no apprehension of criticism arising from those two events. However, the situation with this charity event is less certain for her, and still stinging from the content of the Hollywood Reporter event, it's likely that her narcissism perceived that whilst there were benefits that could be obtained by attendance, there was a significant risk that it might go against her as a consequence of people basically thinking, oh look, here comes the woman who bullies staff, and that she wouldn't be given the reception that she would prefer. Remember, her narcissism is a self-defense mechanism, and in the circumstances, its job is to look after her, protect her, prevent her from being wounded. And if it perceived that there was a chance of being challenged in this way as a consequence of the unfavourable reports about her, it would then cause her to assert control by staying in a position of withdrawal and offer the excuse of being sick. To my mind, that whilst the possibility she was ill is that a possibility, I see it, understanding her narcissism, as far more likely, based upon evidence of previous behaviour and the way that her narcissism functions, that either she asked to speak and was told no, and in effect sulked, so didn't go, or, probably the most likely, her narcissism perceived that the environment would not be conducive, that it would be too many threats to control, so she stayed in a position of withdrawal and Harry went on his own and looked far happier for it. Once again, applying evidence and utilising the predictability of the way that the narcissist behaves in the pursuit of the prime aims enables you to understand far more easily and far more accurately why this one's wife does as she does. What do you think? Do you agree with what I've suggested, or do you think there's some alternative reason as to why this one's wife failed to grab hold of the mic on this occasion? I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.